Hello everyone. Welcome back to the Industrial Edits, the podcast series of SCMS NOIDA. Today I, Rishi Choudhary, am here to host the podcast series. So we will be talking about a very interesting topic, that is startup ecosystem in India. I am pretty sure that all of you are very excited and kicked up after listening to the topic itself, because in the startup ecosystem, India is ranked number 3 in the world, just behind USA and China. So today we have with us Mr. Rishi Choudhary, Director Operations of an MNC and mentor to multiple new age startups. Mr. Rishi is an electronic engineer with management degree from prestigious IIM Lucknow. He is also certified innovation practitioner from Harvard Business School. Mr. Rishi has over 20 years of experience in program management, operations management, and strategy implementation. He has worked in reputed MNCs like Mylan, Bose Audio, Barco, and Times of India Group. During the course of his career, he has won many accolades like prestigious Chairman's Award and awards for the most charismatic leader. Apart from building these rich brands, his other passion is mentoring the new age generation of leaders, foundations, and startups, mainly in Fintech and EdTech sector. So with a very warm heart, we welcome you, sir.
Big hello to students of Symbiosis NOIDA. Today I'm here to talk about startup ecosystem. I am currently working with a lot of interesting startups. I am advising and mentoring them. The startups that I am currently working with are primarily working in either they are in the fintech segment or edutech segment, and both the segments are very exciting as of now. Most of the funding is, if you look at the statistics, most of the funding is coming into health tech, edutech, and fintech segment, and there's a lot of exciting work being done by exciting founders in these three segments. So endeavor today would be that I share my experience and learnings working with these startups with you students, and hopefully these ideas and these thoughts will trigger some of the budding entrepreneurs who would go on to create some innovative products. Thank you so much.
Let us then begin without any further ado. So, sir, the startup ecosystem is a whole world in itself. It has been quite a hot topic of our conversation since last year, with a lot of Indian startups getting unicorn status. So, do you think that Indian startups have the potential to go global and operate at a multinational scale?
The first question is on Indian startup ecosystem, and they want to know whether the Indian startups have the potential to go global and operate on a multinational scale. Yes, they can. There are also many examples of Indian startups which have already become global multinational. One example that comes to my mind straight away is the Oyo Hotels. Oyo Rooms. They started in India. They expanded very aggressively all across. In every nook and corner of the country you go, you will find Oyo Room. And they have equally aggressively, they have expanded in Australia, Southeast Asia, USA, and they are doing reasonably well in these areas. And as of now, what we see is most of the management, they have shifted to the US and they are operating out of that. If you look at in current scenario with 1.5 billion population of India is the most coveted destination for any country. Any organization, they want to come to India and operate. And so because India as a destination provides all the opportunities and opportunities for scaling up in organization because of the huge consumer base that we have. So while going to operating in two different countries can definitely be exciting, but if you are able to expand well and do well in India, that itself will take care of your revenues and growth prospects. And very interesting on this topic of whether Indian companies can become global multinationals. Recently, there was we all have heard of a company called Meesho, a very interesting Indian startup which is into e-commerce and reselling space, which is very new, relatively new. I think it was launched in 2019 and doing very well now. Recently, there was a tweet that in South America, Argentina or South America, I don't remember exactly the country. It was in South American country. They advertised their product, their company as we are the Meeshos of Argentina. So the moment that's a big honor. If somebody because What do? When we talk about inequality, we talk about Reliance, Infosys, Tata, etc. So if people in South America can take Misho as their example and proudly claim that we are the Misho of Argentina, that shows that Indian startup ecosystem is very, very mature now. And even by numbers, if you see, we are currently number 3 in the pecking order. Number 1 being USA, number 2 being China, and India is third in the startup ecosystem. And we are growing like anything. Generally, it was earlier 2 to 3 companies were becoming unicorns in a quarter. In this itself, there were 31 companies which had turned unicorn. So it's a really, really mature market, and Indian ecosystem is throbbing, doing very well, and it's a very exciting times for all of us, especially for the youngsters like you who are going to join the workforces in coming year or 2 year down the line. It's a very exciting phase to be.
I think that clears a very basic doubt for many budding entrepreneurs. So, now talking about blockchain technology, with the advent of blockchain technology and advancements in AI, we are now seeing a flood of fintech and data driven customer centric startups. Do you think this is completely going to change or at least bring some considerable disruption in the Indian financial sector?
Blockchain and AI have completely revolutionized the way the financial segment used to work. Blockchain, and out of them, blockchain is the biggest game changer, because if you see, the blockchain removes the entire intermediaries in between, so ensure that all the transactions can be done more quickly, cheaply, and with a clear transparency. It offers the opportunity to recreate traditional process and make it easier to create new businesses application by removing all the barriers. So that's how the blockchain, this just as a statement, but overall, if you look all the transactions, blockchain is kind of a ledger which for a bank, and it brings more accuracy, and financial services ecosystem completely depends on the blockchain for audit systems and verifying transactions. So this is about blockchain. And similarly for the artificial intelligence, currently if you see, 80% of the banks are using artificial intelligence, and they are hugely benefited. The how this fintech companies have dovetailed into the banking transactions is, if you see all the banks, whether it's HDFC or Axis Bank, the story is that this small fintech companies who started their operations and created new revolutionary product based on blockchain and AI, they were bought up by the HDFC, HSBC. These banks have bought these small companies and strengthened their own ecosystem. So now not only the loan processing companies, fintechs are working on this thing. Even the larger banks are also working on blockchain and AI. Almost 80% of banks have benefited from that, and as per the report, almost 500 billion potential cost saving for banks by the use of artificial intelligence. And how artificial intelligence is used mainly for 4 or 5 things. That is, one is for detecting fraud, cybersecurity threats. It helps in improving customer experience because it crunches a lot of data. It helps the decision makers make quick decisions because data is there in front of him, and artificial intelligence helps in nudging you to take the right decision. And the entire financial transparency, like underwriting, insurance, developing new product, everything works so smoothly with AI, is almost magical. Because and banks of yesteryears that we have seen earlier, they have completely changed now. This, without blockchain and AI, none of the financial segments were impossible to work now. And as the time going, newer technologies are coming, NFT is coming, and these things are going to be more prevalent and useful in the coming.
That definitely made a lot of sense. So, you may have heard that recently CEOs of different startups wrote a letter to PM to allow them to get listed on multiple international exchanges like NASDAQ, to which PMO didn't give a positive response. Do you think that these Indian startups should be allowed to get into global market to raise more capital?
Nasdaq listing of Indian startups. Yes, this is very, very important step. And again, there is a beginning has been done. Recently, you would have heard about Freshworks, which got listed in Nasdaq, and they did some amazing work. Freshwork, as you know, is started from a humble beginnings of down south, and now the way they and their debut at Nasdaq was celebrated by all across. It's a great success story for all startup.
Very, very rightly said, sir. Moving on, Creativity and innovation plays a great role in growth and success of a company. It even helps in creating a differentiating factor for your product and brand. And those who fail to innovate today will stop growing or at least go stagnant at that point. How much do you agree to this?
Yes, creativity and innovation is very, very important. Creativity, innovation, along with the power of execution, is something very important for any startup to grow. These three: creativity, innovation, and execution. The speed with which you are able to execute your ideas is something that every startup will look forward to. And Indian startups is full of unicorns now. In this month itself, we have seen 31 startups getting unicorn startup. Latest being the Lithicious, which is into selling raw meat. And also, if you talk about innovation, the best example that comes to immediately my mind is of Ola. Ola started with taxi integrator. They started with that. But if you see, recently they launched Ola Scooter, electric vehicle, which is a huge success. And everything was done online. The innovation was that the entire distribution process was online. And the amazing response that they got is something a complete eye opener. I think many companies will be following the suit. So yes, absolutely, creativity, innovation, and power of execution is three muscles that you need for a startup to succeed.
That was so apt. So, diversity in workplace has been a matter of concern for leaders since the start, and companies try to be as diverse as possible. Do you think diversity in workplace and work culture plays a great role in success and failure of the startups? I mean, what are your opinions for the same?
Diversity in workplace and culture, yes, this is very, again, it's not only for startup. I think it's important for every corporate, and particularly for a startup, diversity and workplace culture is critical because you are building up your organization. Diversity, the moment you are able to get diversity, it's more inclusive. You get all sorts of people, all walks of people, and everybody comes with their own ideas and thought processes. So it nurtures an organization. It helps in different, because of different ideas and thought processes, people are able to solve different problems in different manners. And workplace culture is something, as it's very rightly said, the culture can eat strategy for breakfast any day. Culture is the most important thing for any organization. Strategy can take you from point A to point B, but if you have run a marathon, culture is something that will take you from a good company to a great company. And the most important thing about the culture is, and diversity is, this has to be top driven. The founders, the key CEOs, CIOs, COOs, they will have to drive this. It is always top driven. It's from flows from top to bottom. So yes, diversity and workplace culture is something very critical for success of your organization.
I think I haven't heard a better opinion to that. Finally, my last question to you, sir. Upskilling and getting the right workforce to do the right task is still quite a task for the Indian giants like TCS, Wipro, etc. And there are startups tackling this problem too. How do you think we can solve this problem?
Upskilling and getting the right workforce to do the task. Yes. Again, very valid question, because I think most of the organizations and startups are struggling to get the right kind of manpower. So I remember very early in my initial days when we started taking interviews of people. My manager asked me that, what do you look for a candidate when you hire him, when you are interviewing him? So our answer was very standard, that we look for whether he knows engineering, what are the skills he has, so on and so forth. But the one thing that he told me at that point of time still stays with me. He told me, Rishi, we always hire people for their attitude and train them for their skills. So this mantra, that hire people for their attitude and train them for the skills, is something is very relevant even today. It's relevant for the startups very much. And I think the colleges, that they are doing this internship program, that's very important for preparing students for the work, for their career and work journey forward. And also the companies should be investing in the internship. They should train them, because by this, if you are able to nurture a young student for their ideas, their thought processes, you never know, in future you may have a future CEO in him. So yes, there are a lot of work happening in this, and more companies are coming forward to help students in upskilling with the right attitude, so that the right workforce can be created for the work.
I guess all the budding entrepreneurs have probably found answers to all of their questions by now. Here we come to the end of today's podcast. Thank you so much for today, sir. Thank you so much for taking your precious time out for us.
Thank you all. That brings me to the end of this session. This was interesting conversation, good questions, tough questions, and hope you liked the responses and it helped some ways to you in nurturing your thoughts and ideas. It was interesting discussion all the way. Thank you so much.
It was a pleasure to have you on board, sir. So here I sign off. Until next time, take care and a very goodbye.